want to jump right into my next interview. Some civil rights leaders met with Joe Manchin, the holdout Democrat in the Senate on the voting rights bill. One of those leaders joining me now, National Urban League President Marc Morial. Marc, thank you for joining me. Give us some sense
Charles.
of what that meeting was like.
So let me let you know, and thank you for having me, why we thought it was important to have the meeting. As a group, we've never met with Joe Manchin. And his role sort of in this important sort of catbird seat on key legislation means that we cannot allow these bills to be lost without engaging with him directly. And we engaged with him directly today. So it was a civil meeting. It was a good conversation, but it was also a firm and frank meeting. We asked him to reconsider his position on the For the People Act. We asked him to reconsider his position.
And what did he say to that?
Thinking about how to deal with the filibuster. He did not agree to reconsider his position, but we did take time, and this was what's important, to share with him the details of the tsunami of voter suppression bills that are being introduced all across the nation. And we went into some specificity about that, so it was clear to him that these bills that are being introduced smack of some Soviet era, North Korean, anti-American, anti-democratic bills to stop people, making it difficult for people to vote, and to make it difficult for black and brown and poor and young people to vote. We also
when he emerged from the meeting,
educating him about
Ms. Morial, when he emerged from the meeting, he said that he had learned some things. Were you under the impression that he did not know about what this raft of bills that was being introduced across the country? Did he not know that before that meeting?
I think people have heard about them, but I think, Charles, that when you get into the details of them and how ridiculous and absurd some of these provisions are and how extreme they are, and when you look at the magnitude of it, I don't know that he didn't know about it, but I think that the way it's being discussed, that when people hear the specifics, it's even more shocking. The second thing we did, we went through a long history since the 1800s of how, for the most part, the filibuster has been used for probably half of the time it's been used simply to block racial justice legislation. It's a tool that Richard Russell, the late segregationist senator, and many, many others, Strom Thurmond, bragged about its utilization to block civil rights legislation. And that utilization has come full circle here in 2021. So we wanted to make sure we set the predicate. And as we left the meeting, the most important thing was a commitment to continue to dialogue. As civil rights leaders, we have to be in the streets. We have to be in the suites. We have to be in the halls of Congress. We have to do everything in our power to achieve the objective. And the objective is, unless we can get a federal act, the For the People Act and the John Lewis Act, that stops this pandemic of voter suppression in its tracks, American democracy is at grave, grave risk.
So how optimistic are you that that's going to happen? And if you say you want to continue the dialogue, for how long?
Well, I'm not going to put a clock on it, but not indefinitely. The question is, if we discontinue our dialogue, does it mean there's a route forward without Joe Manchin's cooperation and support? There's a political reality here. The United States Senate is not an institution where the Democratic Party has a clear majority. They have a narrow majority. Number two, the United States Senate is not a body whose seats are apportioned based on population. So it is already a body by a constitutional mandate that is somewhat skewed, that each state, regardless of size, So a state with 600,000 people has 2 senators. A state with 40 million people also has 2 senators. And that affects the politics of the United States Senate. Our aim is not to make a point. We have to do more than make a point. We have got to find a pathway to pass some significant legislation. So we're not going to give in. And this pathway to talk to Joe Manchin is not guaranteed to gain a result. But we cannot allow any option to be left on the table in this endeavor. And there are, I think, going to be other options, but not
I have
clear
1
today.
minute here left, but I just want to get your answer. I want to get your answer on this. Are the other options on the table, as you were discussing, a trimmed down version of this bill, or abandoning this bill altogether and just pushing forward on the John Lewis Voting Act?
We need both, Charles, and you know, there's the bills have a lot in them. I'm not going to sit here and say we would negotiate pieces of it, but every component of the For the People Act is necessary for the protection of democracy. Everything in the John Lewis bill is necessary for the purpose of democracy. If you get to a point where people sit down and negotiate in good faith, not negotiate and have a show negotiation, are there provisions that might be able to be modified? I never say never. But let me say it clearly, we need both bills. The attack on democracy is so pervasive that it takes both bills to protect this precious institution that is so foundational to this country.
Marc Morial, thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles, and appreciate and continued congratulations on your show and your column.
Thank you.
Always.
Thank you.